So apparently Avatar might be on the chopping block at Disney. $1.4 billion is not enough money for the mouse. I mean, come on.
I'm not surprised though, because we've heard this before.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about this. Now, the third Avatar movie did not do nearly as well as the first two, but it still didn't do that badly. However, that might not be enough for Disney to justify another two movies, which is, sort of what has been up in the air. They bankrolled 2 and 3 together. We're going to talk about this and kind of how companies like Disney think, because we've mentioned it before with their decisions. People are like, well, this thing was profitable. Why did they cancel it anyway? And it's usually it wasn't profitable enough. And they're like, well, we can take all that money and we can literally make 2 or 3 different movies and probably make more money. And we talked about that yesterday with Sony too. Sony's pivoting, and they're probably just trying to pivot to things that are actually going to make them more profit. I don't know. It's weird that they've gone all in on Avatar. They built an entire theme park expansion around Avatar, and now they're like, yeah, we might not make any more Avatar.
Well, what's funny to me though, they built the theme park expansion around Avatar before they went ahead and started making more films.
Yeah,
they did that first. And now they made more films, I think, and then they tie Avatar into it, the Pandora thing into it. But if it's not making enough money, and their expectation is $2 billion, it needs to make at least $2 billion to keep us, happy, then 1.5 isn't enough, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, which is insane to think about the amounts of money that you need to make these kinds of movies. And I think Hollywood is just going to rethink everything going forward, and this is why we're going to see cheaper productions, we're going to see lower budget movies, we're going to see a lot of horror movies, we're going to see AI being used more and more because they need to get those costs down, right? It's a huge risk. And I think Disney, they were kind of looking at Avatar as like, oh yeah, every one of these is going to make $2 billion guaranteed. And then when the third one hit and it didn't, it was like, oh.
Then they're like, oh, maybe we need to rethink this now.
Yeah, well, it's the same with The Rise of Skywalker. Like, The Rise of Skywalker made almost $1 billion, but by Star Wars standards, it underperformed. Mm-hmm. So, it's the same with, Marvel movies. Like, people are like, oh, this movie made, almost $1 billion. I'm like, yeah, but it costs like $500 million to make it and market it. And that's just not, they're going to look at it and be like, yeah, it's not really worth the aggravation. If you're just treading water, it's not worth the aggravation, right? Mm-hmm. So let's talk about this. Before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. Guys, you'll get woohoo if you do. This is Kneon. This is CLOWNFISH TV. I'm here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And this is actually pretty surprising. I thought Disney was definitely in the Avatar business the way they were talking. Now they're just like, yeah, no, we're not. Nothing's a sure thing. They said when the $1.4 billion movie isn't enough, this is coming from the Hollywood Reporter, The Wrap. I can't tell the difference. The Wrap. Avatar sequels under the microscope as Disney weighs franchise's future. James Cameron's latest installment could be the midpoint of the series, or it could be the end of the series. So that's not good. Fire and Ash did not do that great. Cameron said, to be perfectly clear, we haven't even made a decision if we're going forward right now with a 4 and 5.
Well, he did point. He's been saying that though since for a couple months now. Like he's been saying it for a while.
Yeah, and that's the thing. They probably said, well, we'll bankroll 2 more and we'll see where we're at. It's kind of like Pirates of the Caribbean. The first one was an unexpected hit. Did very, very well. So they did 2 and 3, and then depending on how 2 and 3 did, they're like, okay, we'll do a 4 and a 5. But that was kind of declining returns too.
But
like
these
the second
films
one
are very expensive to make.
They're very expensive.
And here's the thing, like, since they're so expensive to make, if you go by the double, times 2, they might not be making a whole lot on these movies if it doesn't hit $2 billion. You know what I mean? There might be a reason they're saying $2 billion or we're going to reconsider.
But Cameron said, yeah, should I do that? Should I do that? It's likely, but not 100%. We'll learn lessons from all 3 films. Now they're saying they think they might be rethinking the Avatar expansion in California because the third one didn't do that great.
I honestly thought the Avatar. I'm not a fan of Avatar. Don't get me wrong. I don't like them that much. But that doesn't mean that the lands aren't cool. Because when they had the Pandora added to Walt Disney World, they didn't have 2 and 3 films. They weren't even really talking like they were making them at the time. It was just all based on the first one. And even then, it was years after the first one. So I was like, why are we doing this? Because it makes no sense. But it's still a really, really cool thing to look at, even if it has a lot of really neat things to see, even if you aren't a fan of that franchise. So I think you can get away with a theme park thing. But I could think of a lot other things that are more popular than Avatar that you could put in there with your money.
I think Pandora is one of the best themed parts of Animal Kingdom, and I was very skeptical. I got to tell you, I'm not a huge fan of the Avatar movies. They're okay. I did go see the third one with my daughter. She likes it more than I do. But Pandora in Animal Kingdom is actually my favorite part of Animal Kingdom, even though I don't like the movies. I just like the theming. I love it at night.
That's what I'm saying. You don't need to like the movies to appreciate that. So, I can still see them moving forward with it because they're going to do some similar things and some different things. But they also might want to why waste the money on that when you could go use something that's more popular with people?
Right.
I haven't heard anything saying that they were going to cancel it, but it doesn't mean that they won't. I don't know. That's the first I've heard of it.
So they said insiders told The Wrap that conversations are being had about how to make any future Avatar movies cheaper and shorter.
They're so long.
Because they're like 3 hours long and they're crazy expensive. Now, the thing with 2 and 3, though, is those characters, it was basically 2 parts of the same movie, right? It was like Back to the Future 2 and 3.
But they filmed them back to back, too.
They filmed them back to back. So you theoretically could, spread the cost between both movies. And there really weren't a lot of new characters in the third one. The Fire Nation people or whatever. But it's like, come on, a cat person's a cat person. You just put different clothes on them. But they said, they want to make them cheaper and shorter, with some indications that Disney could even be rethinking a planned Avatar expansion in California. These conversations are happening, according to The Insider. The fact that they are happening with Cameron, who initially plotted a vast 5-film saga, is questioning whether the franchise will continue after the latest release amassed $1.4 billion is surprising. After all, the first Avatar, released in 2009, is the highest grossing film of all time, with more than $2.9 billion worldwide. The second film, The Way of Water, is the third highest grossing movie ever, with $2.3 billion. And there's a lavish, highly interactive Avatar land in Animal Kingdom. Countless people visit Pandora every day. Yeah, Flight of Passage is one of the most popular attractions there. I mean, it's always busy. I love Pandora. But
the problem here is that you're seeing 2.9 billion, 2.3 billion, and then you come to Fire and Ash and it's like 1.5.
That's a big drop off. Yeah, so this is what they're looking at. Declining returns. We wondered that too when they announced they were going to do more Avatar movies. We're like, do people still care? Because it was like 10, 12 years past since the last one. And we're like, do people still care about Avatar?
Overseas they seem to, but I think stateside not so much.
Well, that's the thing, because I looked and I did not realize that Avatar did 89 million opening weekend in the US, right? Mario Galaxy did more than that. Mm-hmm. Mario Galaxy did
it's just not as popular in stateside. Now, it is very popular in China, I guess, and other countries, but it's not that popular in the United States. I'm saying it's not that people don't like it. That's not what I'm saying, because some dipshit will be like, no, I'm saying it's not as popular
exactly
overall
like
in the United States. Yeah.
So this is kind of the same situation they found themselves in with Pirates of the Caribbean, where the Pirates of the Caribbean movies started out really strong, and then they declined movie after movie. And then eventually they were making them for China, basically, because they love Johnny Depp, and why they're thinking about even doing another Pirates movie without him is beyond me. But they might be looking at China too and being like, what? Things are dropping off in China. We're not chasing China as much as we were before. And
I don't think they're going to do that, because Zootopia 2 was huge in China. They mentioned it here, but it was like they were literally having showings at the theaters to bring your pets. It was a gigantic hit. So I think that would just further solidify them going after China, in all honesty.
Well, yeah. But they're talking about that. It said Zootopia 2 did 1.8 billion. And you have to take inflation into consideration too. So how many tickets did they actually sell? So 1.4 billion. I mean, that's almost $1 billion lost, or a decline from 2022. And they're probably looking at Star Wars too, because you saw the first Force Awakens did over $2 billion.
Then people realized they were going to screw everybody up.
Yeah, people were super excited. They're like, oh my God, so $2 billion. Okay, Last Jedi comes out. It does like 1.6. But that's still, $1.6 billion. But what happened was people went to go see it. They're like, oh, they totally ruined Luke Skywalker. And then they didn't go back, to watch again. But then The Rise of Skywalker came out. and nobody was happy because they basically killed whatever they were doing with The Last Jedi and tried to walk shit back, and it was a cluster, and nobody cared at that point, and it only did like 800 and 900 million. So they're probably looking at like, okay, so are we going to put however many billions of dollars it costs or hundreds of millions of dollars into another Avatar movie, and the next one's only going to make 800 million?
Right. That's what I think. That's where I think they're at, and I honestly don't know if they'll do more, because I don't think that, because they're going to see it as a loss. Because they were talking about, they said that it's gotten so crazy that because it did so well before, when it doesn't do as well as they expect, they consider it a loss, even though if it isn't a loss. But I know for a fact that they got rid of things that are profitable in the past because they weren't profitable enough.
Yeah, I always go back to the Disney Infinity example because people are like, well, Disney Infinity was super popular. What happened? Well, basically, it was popular, but the overhead was expensive. They
Because
had to
the
make
figures.
The figures. Honestly, the way to do it would have been, I think, to just offer a lot of the characters as DLC, kind of like Amiibos, and just do a couple of characters as figures, not every character as a figure. But
Now you could probably do this DLC and then offer like 3D printable files if you wanted to.
yeah,
make
that'd be
your
kind of
own,
cool.
you
That'd be
know?
kind of cool. Or but yeah, so they're like, it takes up too much shelf space. And the Walmarts, I guess, were complaining they couldn't get rid of some of the figures, and they were making figures for like every damn movie that came out, including like the Lone Ranger. It was like, it's amazing Mars Needs Moms didn't get toys.
Yeah,
or whatever.
it got a little crazy there.
It was crazy, but they were profitable. They were just like, we're not profitable enough, and they were trying to look down the road and be like, where's this going to be in 5 years? And the truth was, it was going to be probably dead in 5 years because of the oversaturation. And they were probably looking at this with Avatar. They're like, well, the 10-year gap or whatever definitely hurt the brand a little bit. And we even had a theme park to try to pump it up, and it still didn't seem to help it very much. So yeah, where's this going to be? Where's it going to be?
Gosh, that was 10 years ago since they canceled Disney Infinity.
I know.
Part of me feels like it was longer ago, and then part of me is like, it was only 10 years ago.
Oh, Disney Infinity was great. I loved it. But then they got rid of that altogether because Bob Iger thought it was cheaper just to outsource everything to EA. And now they're chasing Fortnite, and it's like, and then they're like 5 years too late to Fortnite. It's like, what are you doing? But they said, yeah, it doesn't look very impressive compared to Zootopia 2, which was a lot cheaper, and it made $1.8 billion. They said Fire and Ash made $1 billion less than The Way of Water. Yeah, I didn't realize it was that bad. Like, I knew it made less. I thought it was a couple $100 million less. I did not realize it was almost $1 billion less. And that was on a budget of $350 million with an
About
addition.
500, they're saying. It's
500.
I guess higher than that because they're, yeah, I'd probably say go higher. But yeah, so I'm just like, they're probably seeing diminishing returns. And then is it worth the headache? Because we're talking years for these things.
Yeah.
And it's probably a production headache. And they're like, do we want to make more of these? Do we want to just go take that money and do 3 other things that might do a lot more?
Yeah. So this is, yeah, exactly. And that's what they're even saying. They said, yeah, it's all about compare and contrast. Fire and Ash made half of what the first one made. Ticket prices in 2009 were not nearly what they were in 2025.
Right.
People went, okay, so this is what people don't realize about Avatar if you were not there when it went down. People were going to Avatar multiple times, and they were watching it in 3D because for a lot of people, it was their first 3D movie. Remember 3D? Yeah, nobody does that.
They still,
Nobody
still
does that
do.
anymore.
They still do it, I think.
Not today. Now it's about IMAX, right? But back, like, yeah, and 3D is still a thing, but it's not like every damn movie was in 3D. And for a lot of people, it was like, it was an event to go see this thing in 3D with these graphics that no one had ever seen before. And now the technology is to a place where I'm watching these movies and they are state of the art, but I'm also like, they look like a PS5 cutscene.
Yeah, well, depends on, yeah.
I mean, a PS5 Pro, but they look like a cutscene. They look good, but it's like we've been there, done that. And when you take the graphics away from it, it's a very cookie cutter action movie. Like,
well, I was going to say kind of unrelated, but this isn't the same article. Another article I saw about this, they said that they're having similar discussions about Marvel and about,
I can believe it.
If it doesn't pick up soon, and about, Star Wars because of Mandalorian Grogu don't do great, or Starfighter doesn't do great.
Yeah.
That they're going to have to reconsider a lot of things.
I think these movies cost too damn much, and I think it's a huge mistake to try to turn every successful movie into a franchise, and then they're not happy with like making a sequel to a movie that's about the same level. They're always like, okay, well, that movie made a bunch of money, so if we throw even more money at it, it'll make even more money. And that's not how this works, right? I think with Star Wars, I honestly, if it were me, I'd be like, I'm not even going to count The Mandalorian and Grogu as a good indicator of where Star Wars is at the box office, because it's just an extended episode of the TV show. I'd be like, Starfighter is going to be the one that decides. And I think with Ryan Gosling doing so well on Hail Mary, I think that it might, if it doesn't completely suck, it might actually be pretty good. It might actually do well. But that would be the one I would go for. But then it's like, how much did you spend on this? George Lucas made Star Wars movies on a shoestring.
Right?
It's like the first one.
Still
especially
over budget, but yes, yeah.
Yeah. But $500 million and 1.4 billion of disappointment. So we're going to wrap it up.
Yes.
Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. We'll talk later.
Bye.